Your next opportunity will come from who you know, not what you know. I'm Jamie Gorman, the host of Be Better at Business TV, and I'm here this morning with Amelia Stansel, Vice President and Financial Center Leader for BB&T Bank. And we'll be discussing how you should build your network and why you need to do the value and how to do it. Good morning, Amelia.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Great. Well, we've talked about some of the different events, and there's a ton of them out there. I mean, there's chamber events, there's networking groups, there's clubs, associations. I mean, there's just a lot of places and events, things that you could do. How do you choose? How do you choose these are the events that I'm going to go to, and this is what I'm going to do? How do you make those choices? I mean, because you could go to these things every day.
You can go
right?
all day, and you'll see people who I look at it and go, how on earth do they even work? Because all their, you see them on Facebook or wherever, and they're going to all these events, and I just look at them like, is that even worth, what is the return on their investment of their time? Because their time is worth so much. And are they getting out of it? And one of these days I'm going to sit down with those people and say, what are you getting? And tell me more about why you do this.
Right.
But what I found is I sit down and look at a marketing plan, and part of my networking, my marketing plan is my networking plan of how much time am I willing to commit per year theoretically, but also it's then breaking down to per month, per week, per day to networking, and what can I do with that? What kind of business am I focused on and that I'm trying to get out of it? There's been times when I first moved to Virginia from Idaho, I joined a BNI group, Business Networking International group, which was fabulous because I needed to meet a lot of people really fast to build a network really quick. So I knew that was the right thing for me to do because I would make really good connections right away. And then from there I said, okay, well then from those, who am I getting the most business from? What am I doing that worked well? And then breaking out into a smaller, into other avenues. So knowing what you're looking for, how much time you can commit, what they need out of you, if you're joining, say, a networking group, for instance, and they say, you have to be able to come to a meeting once a week for this much time, this much extra, you need to do one-on-ones, can you commit that time to it? So you want to make sure that you're able to do that. And then is there a financial commitment of joining something? You have to look at that as well, because the last thing you want to do is overcommit yourself either financially or with your time, and then you don't get out of it, and people go, oh, that person's a flake.
Right.
Or you can actually hurt your reputation by trying to overcommit yourself and not live up to what you said.
Yeah, and that's sometimes, so you got to make sure that you filter down and do what you can commit to. And then sometimes you have to figure out, I think, do I do a lot of different events, or do I pick one event or one group and really get involved in the committees and the board and those types of things as well. And so it seems like it's something you have to, like you said, look at your marketing plan, what you're trying to accomplish with it, right?
And then also, if you do it right, and you're teaching other people in your group and in your circle of influence to go out and you train them on how to go get you business, you can build your sales force, even if you're self-employed, by getting the right people on your team to be your mavens.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, great. Once again, we are live here at Be Better Business TV, and I think we have a question from our audience.
It sounds like you have an initial networking plan. How do you make one up?
Good question.
Yeah, so I'll grab that. How do you make up your net? You said it's part of your marketing plan. How do you do that?
Every year is funny. I work at the bank, and everybody assumes that you just follow what the bank tells you to do. And I actually put together my business plan every year and look at what am I doing specifically networking, and what can people on my actual paid team do for networking as well. But sitting down and saying, okay, what's in our community that I can actually affect? So for me, when I looked at my marketing plan, it included the local Chamber of Commerce and how do I get involved there through committees as well as being on the board.
Right.
What can I do in the nonprofit world as well to be able to help with committees and boards there? Yeah. And then what can I do through the network of my actual clients and centers of influences, and how much time I can actually commit. So part of it is really sitting down and saying, how much can you actually carve out to be able to do this?
Right. Yeah, so the time becomes a part, and it doesn't have to be some big, long plan. It has to be, how many hours can I realistically spend networking based on what I think I can get? And then you start listing out some of the groups, and I like how you mentioned some variety, right? So don't just look to, hey, this is a business association or something that's specifically about networking. When you serve in charities and you volunteer, that's a great way to meet new people in the community, and it's for us introverts, it's a little bit easier when you're working side by side, that you don't have to figure out what I'm going to say. And so that variety and picking those types of groups, include those in your time as well. That's a good point. So we talked about evaluating, and whenever you're talking about marketing, and networking certainly is that. people start asking, well, what's the return on investment? How much business did you get from that group? Is there a way to kind of measure and say, go back and say, well, yeah, I mean, it was worth it financially and time-wise for this group because I got this, or how do you do that?
That could
Or
be.
can you do that?
It's oftentimes difficult because if you're a good networker, you should have a lot of overlap between the groups.
Right.
Because you're going to start involving, we'll use, for instance, even you and I. We started to know each other originally through the chamber, but then through the business association,
Yep.
and then through the next chamber, and then through Rotary. And
Right.
there's so many overlap of when you do it well, because you start pulling each other into each other's groups, and you start seeing a lot of the same people. So it's hard to say, is this one thing really worth my time?
Right.
But you should be able to look at it and say, okay, is there a group that you're involved with that you're already involved with all those people, that you're going to get that business most likely otherwise? So is it really
Right.
worth spending that time there? A lot of times I'll take a step back and say, all right, all those people are involved in all these other groups that I'm already involved with, I probably don't need to do that one
Right.
there. Or I'm not seeing a return coming out of it, or I don't see that there's going to be a return out of it just based on the types of people that are in there, because I'm not a good fit for it. It's not that they're not a good fit. I'm just not a good fit for that group. And a lot of times you
Right.
can take that step back and look at yourself too.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point, is that you do have to look back and evaluate, because you'll get into some of these groups and it's great. You know the people, now they're your friends, and you feel bad leaving, but you kind of know them, you have overlap, and it may not be the best networking. It's okay to stay, just realize it's not a marketing tool anymore. Now it's a social, kind of a social thing. But to make those decisions can sometimes be tough, but it's important to take a look at that. And I think sometimes when, especially some of the bigger groups, you've talked about going consistently, for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Well, once you've done that, you can kind of even fall back a little bit, right? And maybe go every other month so that you can pick up some new networking.
Mm-hmm. You have to remember, you're not divorcing people when you leave a group.
That's right.
It isn't like you said, oh, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. I'm not going to ever
Right.
do business with you. It's, hey, this isn't a good investment of my time right now, and you can still do one-on-one with them. You'll still see them at other things.
Right.
Don't burn your bridge.
Yes.
So,
Well, that's great advice. So, well, good. So, we've kind of shown this morning that you really do know what you're talking about when it comes to networking, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about Amelia? What's going on?
there's always a lot going on for Amelia. Nobody wants to hear about what I do for my day job, but I will tell you about some of my fun stuff I get to do.
Okay.
Besides being a mom, that seems to take up a lot of my extra time. But there's a lot of great things going on right now with the Greater Warrenton Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
We've got coming up in a couple of months for the Father's Day car show, which Father's Day is right around the corner at this
June,
point.
yeah.
So there's a Father's Day car show up in Old Town Warrenton
Okay.
on Father's Day. There's also a car raffle going on that if you want to buy tickets, let me know. Or anybody else on the Chamber Board know we're selling tickets as our major fundraiser right now.
Okay. And they announce the car giveaways. Do they do that at the car show?
They
Or no,
do.
when-
Great question. They announce it at the car show, so it'll be
Okay.
drawn then.
Great. So sometime mid-June you could win a car. That's pretty good news.
Right there from one of our dealerships in Warrenton.
There you go.
Supporting another local business.
Wonderful. Well, I'm Jamie Gorman, host of Be Better Business TV and the CEO of Sigma Business Management. Everyone has an area of business where they need to get better. When you figure out what that area is for you, please give us a call. We'll help you find out and define what it is, find the solution, and then put some resources, the best resources towards that. If you found this helpful, please don't be afraid to share that and let other people know about Be Better Business TV. We could always use more of an audience, and we just love helping people out. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.